All right. Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. Tess and I would like to welcome you all to the last lunch session of the third day of our first EU virtual job fair. Thank you all for joining, and many thanks to Rita Hinek for attending this event on behalf of EPSO. We're very happy to have you here.
Thank you for inviting me.
No problem. So before we start, I would like to mention a couple of housekeeping rules. For the participants, please keep your microphones muted and your camera off during the presentation to not disturb others with background noise. If you have any questions, please ask them in our chat, and my co-host Tess will collect them for a Q&A section of this presentation. And by participating in this event, you are aware of being recorded for educational purposes. The recording will be stored on our private YouTube platform until the 31st of July. Then last thing, this presentation will be a bit longer than the previous ones because there's a lot of information to cover. However, don't worry, there will be enough time for a Q&A, and any unanswered questions will be collected and responded to via email at a later moment. And also the PowerPoint presentation will be shared with everyone later. I would like to give the floor now to Rita and to start your presentation.
Thank you very much, Tessa. Thank you for inviting us. We are very happy to be part of this program, and I would like to keep it as short as I can. It's not rocket science. There are lots of information, but what I really want to focus on are your questions and to hear and to see what you're really interested in. So let me start. We are EPSO, the European Personal Selection Office, and we brand ourselves as EU Careers because basically we are working for almost all European institutions. If you would like to work in one of those institutions, the European Parliament, the European Commission, the Court of Justice, Court of Auditors, the committees, the European External Action Service, the Ombudsman's Office, and so on, we are basically the place where you have to start all your journey, your application process, and the selection. Who we are looking for, we have a couple of, sorry, I don't know if you see that. We have a couple of basic criteria everyone has to fulfill who would like to work at the European institutions, such as you have to have the citizenship of one of the member states. You have to speak 2 EU languages. You have to be a graduate or a non-graduate, depending on the profile you will apply for. And you have to be willing and mostly enjoy to work in multicultural teams. I think as you are already all trainees, I don't really have to go very much further into that. I think you have very good reasons why you applied for, and probably, I hope, one of the first things is that you like to be multicultural and you would like to make a change for Europe. So which fields we are looking for? It always depends on the needs of the institutions, depends on the time of the year and so on. So I have a couple of examples for you. We are really looking for a lawyer linguist. If you are working or if you studied languages, you can become a translator, an interpreter. We are looking for auditors, financial officers, nuclear inspectors, assistants. So basically everything. European public administration is a very interesting field and profile. We don't have it probably this year, but that was something where you could have really every background you could apply for. The staff is in 2 categories right now in the institutions, the so-called assistants and administrators, ASTs and ADs. If you have a university degree, a BA degree, which you have because you're trainee already, I think it's better to focus on the AD levels, especially on the AD5, which is really meant for entry graduate level. Here I have a short overview on the salaries. So when we look at the AD5 level, you will see that it's about 4,900 euros. So this is what you can calculate.
Rita, I'm very sorry to interrupt you. I'm very sorry, but there are some spots covering over your presentation. Maybe it's pop-ups from your computer because we cannot see the full.
Is it better? Actually, there are none. Is it better now?
No. No, there's one to the sides and then there's one at the top.
I see here the waiting room and admitting people, but I don't really, this is what's popping up for me. So it's coming from Zoom actually, that I should admit people, but I think it's rather on your side, right?
Yes, no, you don't have to do that. No, don't worry about that.
So this is the only thing which is popping up.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, let's just continue. I'm very sorry again. Just go
No,
ahead, please.
no worries. So how you can apply for our competitions is, here you go. This is our website, the EPSO website. So if you go on eucarriers.eu, this is what you will see. Actually, every single competition is published on the website, and not only competitions, I will get to that, also temporary and contract agent posts. The competitions for permanent officials are basically have the same more or less structure, each of them. They have a first stage, which is a pre-selection test. It's mostly a computer-based test. A second stage, which is an intermediate test, also on computers. And the third, an assessment center. And once you are through these stages, your name will be placed on the list of successful candidates. Very important to know in these troubled times that the first two stages are to be taken in all European countries, and the first actually worldwide. So don't worry too much about traveling. Actually, only the third, the assessment center, is going to be in Brussels. The computer-based tests, as I said, they are worldwide, and mostly what I tell you is really the most typical structure. Consists of a verbal reasoning, numerical reasoning, and an abstract reasoning. And these three tests are in one of the 24 official languages. At the beginning, I mentioned you that you have to show that you are capable to work in two languages, your first and second language. But the first language is mostly the mother tongue. The second language can be any European language. So actually this, the first part is in your first language. And I have some examples for you, but I don't really want to go very far in that because there are plenty of examples on our website. So, and we are also working on different platforms which can help you with the preparation. So this is an example for a verbal reasoning test. You have a short text, and then you have different answers, and then you have to pick the right one. The second one is pretty much the same, but with figures. So there are loads of figures, but you have to concentrate on the calculation which is to be done here, and then you have to find the right answer again. And I think you have all seen the abstract reasoning already. It's very similar what you can see in GMAT books and so on. So you have to find the next shape. Usually around this point, I give people 1 minute to figure out, but I think, and vote and so on. But I think now that we have only 50 minutes, I will skip that one. After that, you will be invited to the intermediate stage. I'm just checking the time. If you have passed the pre-selection test, and if you have obtained the highest scores in verbal and abstract reasoning test. So this second stage, it really depends on the competition. So it can be a multiple choice question, which is profile specific. It can be a language comprehension test. It can be a translation. So it really depends on which competition we are talking about. And if you are amongst the best ones, then you will be invited to the assessment center. The assessment center, I hope you can see the slides, or at least parts of the slide. It's at this moment, it's a case study, a group exercise, a structured interview, an oral presentation, an interview in the field, and a motivational interview. But again, it's changing a bit depending on the competition, on the structure. So very important, which I didn't mention so far, that if a competition is published, there will be a notice of competition, which is published on the same day on our website. And this is basically, it's like the Bible of the whole procedure. So it gives you real details on every single step which is going to come up. So it's very, very important to read it carefully on the publication date. During the assessment center, we are testing 8 competencies. There is learning and development, resilience, communication, delivering quality and results, working with others, prioritizing, analyzing, and the potential to lead. So basically the European institutions agreed that those are the most important competencies if someone would like to work at institutions. So those are the ones which we are going to test as well. Also very important that there is a so-called guide to the assessment center, which you can find, I think, even right now on our website. So it gives you a very good overview in which part of the test, which competence is going to be tested. And once you are on the reserve list, the institutions are going to contact you, and then you will have a job interview, and you can actually refuse or take the job offered to you. So this is a quite important slide. I see still something like 7 people have entered the waiting room, and the waiting room is there somehow. So I hope it doesn't really cover the parts which are really important. There is an administrator competition. So as I said, there is no European Public Administration this year, but we have an administrators in low profiles, which is going to come up very, very soon. So in a few weeks, I can't tell you yet the exact date, but very soon. Then competition for secretaries and one for administrators in external relations. So now my question would be, so that's why I'm answering it directly straight away, is which diplomas do you need for EU law, which diplomas do you need for administrators and external relations? At this moment of time, we can't answer it yet. So it will be in the notice of competition, a detailed list of all diplomas which will be considered, and detailed briefing on who can apply. Afterwards, in the second semester, so as of the end of the summer, we are planning a competition on 87, 89 levels, so with professional experience already, for experts in structural reforms, for experts in agriculture, agronomists, proofreaders, chemists, and translators, temporary agent translators. So those are in the pipeline, which are prepared by my colleagues at this moment. And as soon as we have the dates for publication, or we have more information, we will put it on the website. So this was all about, if you would like to, I'm checking again, if you would like to work as a permanent official, so it means an undefined contract, undetermined contract. If you would like to work as on contractual basis, so 3 years, which can be renewed, we have a different procedure for that. We have plenty of profiles, so please have a look on our website where your profile would fit best. There is a call text also for that, where we give more information on the exact education and professional experience required. But just to have an overview, those are the ones where you can apply as a contract agent. And it's a bit of a different structure. So only if you are basically selected by the institution, you will be tested by EPSO. You will be tested in reasoning tests, verbal, numerical, and abstract, and in the competency test. So getting back to that slide, let's say you are applying as an educational psychologist for function group 4. If you have been pre-selected by an agency, by an institution, to be an educational psychologist potential candidate, you will be tested by EPSO in the reasoning test and in educational psychology. And afterwards, the recruiting service is going to interview you at a later stage. A few words to the salaries. So for you, function group 3 and 4, I think the most important ones, it's about 2,700 or 5,300 euros. There's a short pool, I will copy it, or if Tessa, if you could copy this, it's in the presentation, in the notes. So I would be very happy if you could fill in and give us some feedback, what we could do for you in this very short time. And I'm open for questions, of course.
Thank you so much, Rita. And I'm very impressed that you managed to provide us with so much information in just 15 minutes. Thank you very much. Also, everybody, don't worry about the presentation. Like I said before, it will be shared with everybody. So people, if you maybe missed something because it was blocked in the screen, don't worry about it. We will send the presentation to everybody afterwards.
And
I would like
to interrupt, the same for the questions I wanted to edit at the end. So now I will answer, of course, because I have these 15 minutes. But if at any time you have any question, you can come personally to me or my colleagues. So we are very happy to answer you. No problem at all.
That's great. Thank you so much. I will go to the questions now. The first question, could you explain the difference between assistant positions and AD in terms of responsibilities? And what do assistants do? For example, can a policy officer be an assistant, or is it just for secretaries and other types of profiles?
Okay, it's a very, very good and very important question. So basically, according to the staff regulation, the assistants are there to support project, to run project, to have the logistical background, to have the organization, so basically, if there is any program and project in place already, they have to work on the execution part. Whereas the administrators, it's much more about the policy part. It's much about structures to coming up with new programs and projects. So those are the major differences. But of course, there are many overlappings. What we suggest in any ways for candidates, if you have already your university degree and if you are eligible for the AD profiles, go for the AD profiles, because there are many very interesting AST profiles. But you have to take it in account that not all of them can be at the same level, or not from right at the beginning. So as you're all trainees and you have done an amazing traineeship in the past months, and I think you had a very difficult job. I mean, frankly, congratulations for that, because I don't know how many of us could have managed it that well as you did. But make sure that you're applying for the AD profiles whenever you can, because just for the career development, it's a much better idea.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that very clear answer. Then the next question is regarding to age limits. Is there an age limit to applying for a permanent position through EPSO or no?
There is no age limit. Actually, we suggested to do it before the retirement age, which is at the moment, I think 67, if I'm right. But no, there is no age limit. There is no age limit for traineeships or permanent positions.
Okay, great. That's good to know. Thank you. The next question then. Rita, what would you recommend us in order to prepare for the AD5 test? In terms of when should we start preparing? Do you have any tips that you could share with us?
It's a very good question. Actually, the line to take we have is that at the very beginning, it's all about cognitive competencies. So normally you should not prepare, but what we see in practice is, of course, that there are many applications, there are many candidates, and a lot depends on the time factor, basically, because for answering those questions on the computer, you have a very short time allocated. So you have to be really confident that you can do it very fast. So not only that you can do those questions, or you can find the right answer, but you have to be able to do it in a very short time. And for that, you have to practice. So what we don't advise is we don't have any contact with any training providers. They are, even if they say that they are suggested by EPSO, they are not. So we are completely independent from them. But what we have a platform on our website. So if you go to sample test, you will be redirected there. And this is a place where we gather lots of preparation material, lots of sample tests. And this is actually what we are working on, and we foresee to have it even bigger and more. Some countries, and this is also very important, some countries are offering to their citizens free or training courses which you don't have to pay too much. So again, if you go on our website and you click on sample test, you will find all countries who are doing that. And those training courses are also very good, and we are in touch with the member states, of course. So this is something, those are the two things I would like to advise you to do. One is to go and check our platform, the free platform, and the other is to get in touch with your member state and see what they are doing already for you, because there's a lot.
Yeah, so for the countries with free trainings, we can also access this information on your website, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, great. That's good to know. Thank you. The next question is actually a follow-up on also AD5 level. Could you maybe explain how career progression in the EU goes? Like once you've reached this level, what are the next
Okay, so
steps?
it depends on seniority, actually, mostly. So, so you will be recruited on AD5 level, and it depends on the institution. In some institutions it's a bit faster, in others it's a bit slower. They all have their own systems. But about, let's say, about every 3 years, you will be, depending on your performance, of course, you will be promoted to the next level. So from AD5 to AD6, from AD6 to AD7, and so on. So it's about seniority. But of course, there are also internal competitions. There is certification. And you can also take any other competition you would do from outside, from inside. So while you are, for example, an 85, but you don't want to wait until you get promoted to 87, you can do also another competition without any problem. So that's basically in a nutshell how it goes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I would like to turn now to the CAST exams because I see there's quite some people that have questions on this as well. Could you explain to us whether the reasoning test for CAST is the same as for the permanent staff for the AD positions?
Okay, so it's about for the function group 4, it's about the same level as for 85 exactly, yes.
Okay. And also, I'm not sure if you know this information, but some trainees would like to know how to get an invitation from our head of unit to sit a CAST exam. Do you know this?
No, so basically
No.
that would be a whole other presentation, I think, but we go.
Yeah.
So the idea is behind CAST that the interviewing services are only sending people for testing if they have a vacancy. So basically the condition for being invited to a test is having a vacancy. So what we advise to do to all agencies, recruiting services, institutions, whatever, is that if they don't have vacancies, don't invite them to test. So just to keep it realistic, and I think this is basically behind it, that if there is any vacancy in your unit, talk to your head of unit if you could be also considered. So that would be our advice from EPSO.
Yes, okay, thank you very much. Another question on CAST is if we would like to apply for different profiles, do we need to repeat the CAST each time, or just a competency test? It's
a competency test in my opinion, but it really depends on which function group it is. So if it's function group 3 or function group 4, they are also overlaps. So for that, I would like to suggest, if there is any concrete question on that, to send us via email, and then we will look into that.
Yes, thank you. Yes, because I also saw some trainees would like to know how to get in touch with you, but I'm sure that I can share your email and also on Claire's email.
Yes, exactly. Both our emails, it's perfectly fine. And if at some other point, after your traineeship, or you forget our names or email addresses, there is a web form on our website. And there are a couple of colleagues behind it who are answering you very, very fast. So if at any time you have any questions, just turn to them as well.
Okay, yeah, we really appreciate that. Thank you. I'm going to go on because there's quite some more questions. The next one is, are the EPSO or the CAST exams for linguists the same as those for administrators?
I guess the person who asked must think about the first part, isn't it? Like the cognitive test.
Yes.
It depends on the grade. So 85 grade, yes, exactly. It's the same.
Okay. Okay. And is there a quota for each EU member states when the candidates are selected or not?
It's a very good question. Actually, there is none. So the competition is an open competition, and the legal background is that we have to put the best candidates on the reserve list. So who are doing the best during this selection procedure. So if actually, to give an example, if everyone would be from Luxembourg, they would put everyone from Luxembourg on the reserve list. So there is no national quota. What we try to do is to keep the geographical balance, but we don't really do it we don't do it at all during the competition, of course. We try to do a bit more advertisement, let's say at universities where we don't have too many applicants from. This is how we can maybe a little bit influence if we hope we can. But there's no geographical quota, no.
Okay, thank you. The next question actually has 3 questions in one. So the first is, how can we get an interim position? Okay. Are these positions advertised? And last one, how far ahead of the start of the contract are such positions advertised?
That's a very, very good question. Again, in the longer version of the presentation, I go into that more detailed. So basically, the commission, I know it from the commission, so I think for each institution it must be the same, but you have to look it up yourself. So they have framework contracts with temping agencies. So right now the commission has one with Randstad and with Daust in Brussels, and in it means that you have to go to those agencies, you have to contact them, and you have to explain them that you would like to work as an interim at the Commission. In that case, I guess it must be the same for the Parliament. Sorry for not having more information on that. And they are running their own selection procedure. So it's very important to know that if you are an interim, you are not employed at the Commission as such. You are employed at the agency. So all the contract, the salary, it all depends on the agency. So we don't really have a direct management of this. So just to repeat it again, in Brussels is Randstad and Daust, and in Luxembourg is Randstad and Adecco. Those are the ones which are currently in place. You have to check that regularly because sometimes it changes, that there is another agency coming in or another one going out.
Okay, thank you. The next question, how long does it take between the registration for the administrator competition and the actual computer-based tests?
Okay. So it depends on many factors. Also, how long is the application procedures? We have done already a couple of, maybe some of you remember, we have done already a couple of competitions where we had parallel application and testing. In others, we wait until it's really finished and then we are cleaning up data and then we start testing. But I mean, now what I tell you is really a personal kind of opinion. It's the thumb rule, I would say. In about a few weeks, a month, the tests start latest.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I do see that there are quite some more questions, but unfortunately we're running out of time. But as I said in the beginning, we are collecting all the Q&A and all the questions that have not been answered now. They will be answered in the near future. I would like to thank everybody for all of their questions. And I would just like to know from you, Rita, you know, for us, the situation has been unprecedented and it's very uncertain times. If you have any last piece of advice to us, any tips for us, that would be great.
It's a very personal note, actually. I'm working also with a trainee in our unit, and but I can tell you all, guys, that I mean, what you have done is really amazing. In such a short time, entering an organization, and basically after a couple of weeks later, you got confined and you have to work from your own home with people you probably have never met, with structures we have never seen, even us. I think you showed an amazing resilience and strength. And I think if you have done that, you will be fine, anyway, in my opinion. So all the best. Please keep an eye on our social media. We are on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. If you follow us on Facebook, you will always get the latest updates on the presentation, on the competitions published, and you can apply directly. And I hope that I will see you soon, really in person, by one of our tests and as a future colleague. Thank you.
I hope so too, Rita. I think we are hoping for the best. And thank you so much for your encouraging words and answering all the questions. I really appreciate that you took the time to be here with us today. I'd like to thank all the trainees for participating. And like I said before, the presentation will be shared, and also the email address of Rita and Anne-Claire for any further questions. I would like to wish you all a great afternoon. Also you, Rita, enjoy the rest of your day. And for the trainees, please don't forget to join our next event at 5 with Ram Shalbak from the UNFPA. And have a great afternoon. Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Rita. All the best.
Bye. Thank you.